Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Lieber, your host today on the CBS Sports Spectacular while Dick Stockton is off on assignment. We're in Sarasota, Florida for the final stop on the PBA Summer Tour, the $70,000 Sarasota Open. And Dave Davis and I will be along in just a moment or so with the championship match live from Sarasota. But that's not all. In addition, the National Hot Rod Association Spring Nationals from Columbus, Ohio, one of the most exciting and certainly one of the most noisy sports in all the world. And then we'll go to Daytona and one of the most talked about stock car races of the year, the NASCAR Sportsman 300.
And we are at the National Trail Raceway in Columbus, Ohio for a spring ride, a gathering out here in the Midwest that draws over 60,000 people here annually for the National Hot Rod Association competition. Excuse me, sir. What brings you out to these drag races? Power. You got it. That's the whole story. And to tell you more about the kind of power you're going to be seeing today, here's Carl Olson.
Thank you, Ken. The purpose of any drag racing vehicle is to accelerate the quarter mile, and no vehicle does that better than the unlimited category known as the Top Fuel Dragster. It's a 2,000 horsepower all aluminum racing engine, a massive set of rear tires, aerodynamic wings, a lightweight body, and about 20 feet of chrome Wally tubing, all tied together to make it the fastest accelerating vehicle in the world. The other category we'll be looking at today is really the second cousin to the Top Fuel car, known as a Fuel Funny Car. It uses the same engine, huge rear tires as a Top Fuel car, but it carries a lightweight one-piece fiberglass body. It's much shorter, about 10 feet in overall length, but it is capable of the same type of speeds and elapsed times as the Top Fuel car. In both these categories, as in any form of motorsports, there is a distinct element of danger.
The funny cars with the man himself, the Snake, Don Prudhomme.
Back at National Trail Raceway, this is Carl Olson with Ken Squire, where a record crowd is waiting for the funny car semifinals, in which we'll see some of the most expensive equipment in the sport, which goes far beyond what we'll see on the racetrack. And here's Ken to take a closer look at some of that equipment.
For those of you who think that drag racing is 3 minutes of snap, crackle, and pop for about 6 seconds of zoom, take a look at this Kenny Bernstein rig from Texas. $265,000 of home away from home. In this cab, the interior is a combination of a luxurious yacht, and the instruments look like they come out of a flight deck on a commercial airliner. And this is the throne room. It has all the trappings, all the attendants that one would anticipate for a monarch of motorsport. And in here are the logistical supplies to keep this machine running for 10 months on the road without returning to the home fortress. Even a second vehicle to squire this car back and forth to the starting line. But perhaps most impressive is this arsenal, this engine room, with enough bits and pieces to rebuild and regroup after any skirmish, and enough major pieces, 3 of these $16,000 engines, to win any war.
All that equipment didn't help Ken Bernstein, Ken, and it's important to note that every funny car racer here came with that kind of an investment.
Well, here are 2 of the top. This is Al Segrini, and the man he's facing is Don Prudhomme. This is second round elimination. Segrini from Utica, Rome, New York, has the unenviable task of facing the Snake, 4-time world champion, winner of 27 national events. There he is, the great Don Prudhomme coming to the line. He has to be the heavy favorite here, Carl.
Oh, you bet. He's almost unbeatable, although he has been having a little trouble in recent months, Ken.
They stage. Prudhomme near side. Al Segrini from upstate New York, far side, both in Plymouth. How much horsepower about to unleash here?
About 4,000 altogether, Ken.
The lights are off, and they're away. Upset. Segrini is defeating Don Prudhomme, who won it here a year ago. 226 miles per hour. Al Segrini advancing in this national championship event at Columbus, Ohio. Funny car competition. Don Prudhomme is eliminated before they get to the semis. Look at this start another time. Prudhomme near side. Al Segrini, a relative unknown compared to Don Prudhomme, just puts it to him. A beautiful run for Al Segrini. What has happened to Don Prudhomme? Here's Carl Olson.
Don, it's been kind of a tough week, but you got this far. How do you feel about it?
Well, you know, I'm just lucky to get this far. We've really been struggling, and, you know, what can I say? Segrini run good, and the show's over.
Thank you.
So the show is over for Don Prudhomme, but certainly not the year or the coming years. He is still one of the greatest names that drag racing has to offer. Pulling away from a bad day at Columbus, Ohio, Don Prudhomme. And the man that beat him is Al Segrini, who moves on in the semis. This is Segrini. Who will he face? Gary Burgin, that's who, winner of the U.S. Nationals in 1976. First semi-matchup. Second semi-matchup, the Blue Max. Ray Beadle faces Ron Colson, the Hawaiian. Two excellent semi-final rounds. And here is Burgin, the 33-year-old Stanton, California campaigner, being encapsulated in his machine, the Orange Baron. What about Burgin and Segrini? These are two names you don't hear too much about.
No, it's very rare that you see either of these cars get this far. Segrini's really having the national event of his life. He was the quickest qualifier in this field, and he ran very well in the first two rounds. Burgin, on the other hand, always runs strong, big numbers, but for some reason he doesn't seem to have the luck to carry him through.
Now, what were those two machines doing right there?
They're making their burnouts, Ken. That's getting the tires spinning in the bleach box, running across the starting line, laying down a hot layer of rubber. The crew then backs these cars right back in their tracks, and you have rubber-to-rubber adhesion for leaving the starting line with maximum traction.
Sticky on sticky to really get them off and out of that box in a hurry. We have a fire coming out of Segrini's car. Out of the headers, you can see what looks to me like a real problem here.
You bet it is, Ken. There's something definitely wrong with that car. That flame out of the number one cylinder is getting worse, and it looks like it's catching the side of the body on fire.
Blowtorch on Al Segrini's automobile all the way from Utica Road, New York, and it looks like it's all going up in smoke for Segrini right here at the starting line. That has to be a frustration. And there's the sign. It's all over for Al Segrini before he ever was able to make the race. And Gary Burton will still make his run. And, of course, the guy who goes the fastest gets the choice of lane in the finals. For sure he's going to stand on it. Right, Carl?
You bet. He's going to put this thing to the wood and run it all the way out the back door, because lane choice is always very valuable in a championship event like this.
The Orange Baron, Gary Burgin, to the line. Solo run. Important that it is a good run. He needs a good elapsed time and the selection of lane in the finals.
Boy, and there's a lot of tire smoke, Ken. He's broken the tires loose, and I'm sure that's going to result in a poor time. That's it. 6.51 is not a good time.
And now to the line, the second semi, the Blue Max. This is Ray Beadle, Plymouth, out of Dallas, Texas. He squares off against Ron Colson, the Hawaiian. And there looks to be a problem on the car from Addison, Illinois, the Hawaiian.
I think that car is locked in reverse, Ken. Every time he hits the throttle, it jumps backwards, and it doesn't look like it wants to go back into forward gear.
So here again in the semis, it's going to be decided, predestined, for Ray Beadle to make the finals, as there's this problem with Ron Colson with that Corvette machine. 1,500 pounds, a funny car with everything at stake, about $11,000 to win. Ray Beadle is underway.
Oh, and he gets very wild on the top end, Ken. It looked like he was running over some of his own oil with an engine problem, and he only runs a 6.59, which is going to cost him lane choice in the final.
And here you see the Hawaiian being rolled backward. Ron Colson stuck in reverse and just out of luck here in these Nationals at Columbus, Ohio. And on the other end of the course, we have disasters on both ends of the course. It looks like the Blue Max is not able to shut off. The engine is still running.
Well, that engine is hurt, Ken. There's pieces coming out of it, and it's liable. Oh, there it goes.
Beadle's engine finally expiring after devouring itself. Must have dropped a rod or something and just couldn't shut off for some reason. And notice how quickly those safety crews were there. The Hawaiian being rolled away on one end of the course. Meanwhile, on the top end, here is Ray Beadle out of that car. Carl Olson standing by to try to get a word with Ray Beadle, who really rode down a hot one. Here's Carl.
That's all right.
What happened, Raymond?
Well, we had a bearing hurt that last round, and we sanded it, and we knew we was going to have to change it this round, so I guess he went ahead and let the rod go. We thought it'd be good for one more round. We had to wait up there a little extra, waiting on rolling.
How come the engine wouldn't shut off down here?
Evidently, the fuel shut-off must have slipped off the cable or something. They switched cables, so evidently it must have slipped off.
So we're looking at a new motor for the final.
We were planning on putting a fresh one in for the final anyway.
And you're looking at Ray Beadle, who makes it into the finals here at Columbus, Ohio. The Blue Max with the new engine will be outfitted and ready to roar. He'll be running against the Orange Baron, Gary Burgin, as we move to the finals of this great national championship, National Hot Rod Association event. Burgin versus Beadle coming up. You're in the pits of Ray Beadle here at Columbus, Ohio in this National Drag Championship event, one of 11 each year. And it's a critical time for Ray Beadle. They're changing the engine on the Blue Max, and it has to be right by milliseconds, or it's all for naught today. Meanwhile, the engine on his competitor. This is Burgin. The man, Gary Burgin, who's won one national championship event, making final adjustments, and in the pits, a large crowd, unusual, but what we see a lot of in this kind of drag competition. Garlits versus Tharp, that's upcoming, but right now, it's the funny car finale from Columbus, Ohio. You're looking at the Orange Baron from Stanton, California, Gary Burgin, and there's the Blue Max, ready to go once again with the veteran Ray Beadle out of Dallas, Texas. How do you see it, Colson?
Well, you just can't call a race like this. They both had trouble, but they've also both run good.
They're off. Burgin away. Beadle comes back. Burgin throwing out a lot of smoke. Burgin wins it. The 1976 national champion, runner-up at Senaire in Montreal a year ago. Victorious. His crew is ecstatic. Let's watch the replay here. On the start, a little bit sideways, and then gathering it back up, a lot of smoke out from underneath the car of Burgin. The Beadle car on the inside, remember they made an engine change, apparently they just didn't have enough time, and Burgin comes home the winner. Here's Carl.
6:49 wasn't the quickest run that was made here this weekend, but it was good enough to win. What kind of trouble did you encounter out there?
Well, towards the afternoon, of course, like we said before, the heat of the day makes the track get somewhat slippery, you know, and it makes it hard to make horsepower. And the track just gets awful tricky, you know. We smoked the tires twice.
It's good enough to get to the finish line first. I guess that's what counts. Congratulations, Gary.
Thank you, Carl.
One of the biggest wins of his career for Gary Burgin. Winning here in Columbus, Ohio. A long time between wins. Here it comes.
Thank you, Carl. As you can see, there were thunderheads gathering to greet Don Garlits when he came across the line to win this masterful performance, one of his best in the 25 years he's been in drag racing. He created his own lightning for sure, and we're going to get both here in just a moment. Earlier, they talked about the fact that power was the story of this kind of racing. Actually, they're three-piece. One for sure is power. The other's a guy named Parks, Wally Parks, who has made this some of the most exciting racing there is in motorsport. And three, people. People now running for cover, but as big a crowd as we've ever seen at any motorsports event. For the national championships at Columbus, Ohio, and Carl Olson, I'm Ken Squire, getting out of the ring.